Right troops, how yous doing? It's Rob here, and welcome to my review of Dying Light. We completed the game on the 26th of June, and today's date is the 24th of July, so it's been just over a month. Normally, it really just depends on the game that we just played. Sometimes I like to do a review 1 to 2 days after we finish the game, and sometimes I like to wait a few weeks, right? Sometimes I'm quite emotional when I complete a game. You know, my mind is all over the place, right? And when I'm doing a review, I like to be as objective as possible, right? I like to be clear-headed. I like to let the dust settle. But in reality, it's because I'm a lazy bastard. I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, up to the point where I have no choice but to do it today because the review is going up on the channel tomorrow. And I don't know why I'm lazy, guys. Honestly, it's not difficult. I just open up OBS, turn on my webcam, turn on the microphone, and just talk about the game we just played. And I'm just going to say this, guys. I actually really enjoyed Dying Light. It's much better than Dead Island. I actually described it as Dying Light is what Techland wanted Dead Island to be, right? That with Dead Island they experimented and they grew as a developer, and Dying Light was the culmination of all of that hard work, right? That's not taking anything away from Dead Island, right? I actually love the series. It's fun and it's funny, right? But zombie apocalypse games are not meant to be funny, right? It's a survival horror game. There is horror all around you and you need to survive that horror, right? So there was a much more serious tone to Dying Light, you know? It was a much more mature game compared to Dead Island. So yeah. But it was not without its faults. I actually described it perfectly during one of my episodes, guys, that it was like a love-hate relationship. 1 minute I love the game and the next minute I hate the game. I don't think in all the years that I've been gaming, out of all the games that I've played on the channel, no other game has made me rage more than Dying Light. Now, there were bugs and glitches, and they made me rage, right? But that was like these short bursts of rage, like, oh my god! And I was alright 2 seconds later. The real source of my rage, the real source of my misery, was a particular type of mob. Now, officially, in the game, they're known as virals. But I called them runners. And that's what we're going to call them for the sake of this review, because that's what they do. They run. And they keep running. Even when you're running away from them, they keep running after you. They keep pursuing you. They are relentless. They don't stop. The only way to successfully evade a runner is to use your grappling hook and get up on top of a building. And you think, okay, maybe you're safe on top of that building. Are you fuck? Because they can also climb buildings. Not just a wee tiny shed. No, they can climb a building that's got multiple stories. Guys, there was at least 3 times in the playthrough where I wanted to quit and just not play the game anymore. And it's because of runners. Seriously. Without a doubt, the worst mob, in my opinion. In all these I've been gaming, there hasn't been a mob that has just made me so angry. I think the developers went way over the top. It was complete overkill. So, runners, right, they let out this loud scream. When you hear that scream, you know you've got a runner up your arse, right? So, you can either fight the runner Well, you can run, but like I said earlier, if you run, they will chase you, and they will keep chasing you, and they will keep chasing you. So you fight them. It's bad enough that they can run after you. It's bad enough that they hit like a truck. It's bad enough they can climb buildings, but when you go to attack them, they can dodge. They can jump back. They can dodge to the left, dodge to the right. And they do capoeira. I shit you not. And they don't just attack singular. There's always groups of them coming at you. They are fucking relentless. They are obnoxious. They make me hate the game so fucking much. Especially in the first half of the game when I was pretty underpowered, right? In the second half of the game, I was one-shotting them. Once I got like my katana, my samurai sword, I was just beheading them right, left and centre, but yeah. Now, unfortunately, their existence in the game and what they put me through in this playthrough has drastically impacted the score. Because no other mob gave me this much hassle. The volatiles, right, they're like wee mini bosses and you only fight them at night time. Right? They can run, they can climb buildings, they can jump high heights. But like I said, I very rarely went out at night, only if I absolutely had to, if I was forced to, sort of thing, But I'm just talking about common enemies. Runners are the only enemies that run at you. They're the only enemies that can climb. And they're the only enemies that can dodge. There is an enemy called bolters, and they sprint way faster than us and way faster than the runners, but they don't attack you. They're like a... Like, as soon as they see you, they bolt. That's why they're called bolters, But, yeah. Runners... And like I said earlier, there was quite a few bugs and glitches, but it was mostly tied to parkour. Now, parkour is one of the best things about this game. When you think of Dying Light, you think of parkour, right? Now, when I started this game, I played it wrong. I came from Dead Island into Dying Light with the Dead Island mentality. I just wanted to go in all guns blazing, but that was the worst thing I could have done, guys, because zombies take a long time to die, right? In Dying Light, at least at the early stages. And my main character kept running out of stamina, his weapons kept breaking, and the zombies just were not dying. And someone said to me, no, you don't want to fight in the early stages, you want to utilise parkour. Utilise parkour, complete quests, gain experience, use your skill points to get stronger. And once I started doing that, guys, things got better. So with parkour, you run up, right, and you jump, and then you hold down R1. And when you do that, your character grabs onto a ledge and pulls himself up, right? You don't have to be running. You can start from the ground, just hold down R1, and your character will start climbing, right? R1 is the parkour button. But you'll actually see it during the playthrough, during one of my coming up segments at the start of the video. I was doing this side mission and I was told to go to this big gigantic bridge to get some UV lights, and we had to climb all the way to the very top, and it took forever to get to the very top, right? And I used my grappling hook to get from one end of the bridge to the other. And as I was going to the other end of the bridge, I was holding down R1, and for some bizarre reason, my character did not grab onto the ledge, and he fell all the way down to the bottom, and it took forever before he actually hit the bottom, and he died. And then I respawned miles away, and I had to swim all the way back to that bridge and climb all the way back up to the top. It fucking sucks, and that happened multiple times in this playthrough, where I'm holding R1 and he just refuses to grab onto the ledge and I fall to my death. So, yeah, it is what it is, right? These things happen. There's always a few bugs and a few glitches that, escape, the testing phase and all that jazz. It's just one of those things, but it has affected the score a little bit, guys. What can I say, I don't mind there being a bug or a glitch, but if it makes my character die, that pisses me off. Because of the whole checkpoint system, whenever you die, you don't ever respawn at the point where you died. You're always miles away from where you died. And then you need to make the long trek back to where your corpse is, and it just fucking sucks. So, yeah, but apart from that, guys, everything else in the game was pretty damn solid. So, the story was good. The characters were great. The music was awesome. The ambience was amazing. The graphics were actually pretty damn good considering this game came out in 2015, and granted, we played the enhanced edition, so there was like a sort of HD polish to the graphics, but I was actually quite impressed by them. There was multiple times throughout the playthrough that I said to you guys, I really wish there was a photo mode, because there was just a couple of beautiful shots. I was like, wow, I really wish I could take a photo of that, but there wasn't any photo mode, so what can you do? And with regards to the gameplay, once I figured out what I had to do, I really enjoyed it. Because at the start, like I said earlier, we struggled because I kept going in all guns blazing, thinking that I was playing Dead Island, and we weren't. And once I looked up a couple of guides, people were basically saying, you don't always have to fight. Sometimes you can just run to your destination. So we ended up playing smart. We just assessed the situation. There's our destination, right? And there's a group of zombies right in front of us. Now, we could probably take on those zombies. It'll take a while, but they'll eventually go down. Or we could go around them or go above them. That was it. So once I started playing smart, the game really opened up to us and became a lot more enjoyable. And eventually, we got to the point where we were so OP. We got this weapon. And it's when we got this weapon that I truly felt invincible, right? It was a legendary weapon. And I think it was called the Highlander Hatchet. So naturally that I invoked my inner William Wallace, you know, Braveheart, all that jazz. Put on the fake Scottish accent, which is weird because I actually do speak in a Scottish accent. But yeah. And I swear to God, guys, this hatchet was just beheading people. Just one-shotting them right, left and centre. Off your head. Off your head. Off your head. That was it. I was like, I finally made it. All the struggling, all the death, all the misery that I endured in the first half of this playthrough has brought us to this point right here. And it was just it was just awesome. Now with regards to the story, you play as a character called Kyle Crane. And Crane works for the GRE. And Crane has been sent into the city of Harran to retrieve a top secret GRE document which is in the hands of the game's main antagonist called Rise, right? Now, inside the city of Harran is where the zombie virus is running rampant. There's this big massive wall around the city, and Harran has essentially been quarantined, right? And the outside world knows that there's a zombie virus inside this city. They also know that there are survivors, but there's nothing that anyone can really do because there's this fear that the virus might escape the city of Harran and spread across the world, right? So the reason that the GRE sent Crane in to retrieve this document is because inside it contains proof that the GRE wanted to weaponize the virus. And if that gets out, the whole world will know that the GRE are evil and corrupt, and they don't want that, right? But like I said, the top secret document is in the hands of the bad guy, Rise. And as soon as Crane's feet hit the ground in Harran, he's ambushed by some of Rise's thugs. And then those thugs are ambushed by a group of zombies. And during the kerfuffle, Crane gets bitten. And he's infected. Now, in this game, if you get bitten, it's not the end, right? Because the GRE created this medicine called antizin. It's not a cure for the virus. It slows down the infection. So effectively, if you keep taking antizin, you will not become a zombie. But on the flip side, if you run out of antizin, you will eventually turn and become a zombie, right? So there's two factions in the city. You've got Rise, who, like I said earlier, is the game's main bad guy. He's like a dictator, right? And he's got this army underneath him, okay? He rules with an iron fist sort of thing. But then you've got this guy called Brecken, who used to be a parkour instructor before all this went to shit, right? And he was just sort of thrust into this leadership role, even though he didn't want to be leader, right? And while he was leader, he taught all the survivors parkour because he figured parkour would be a great defense against the zombies. And he was right. So whenever the GRE make a supply drop into the city, because you know, they make frequent supply drops, and inside these supply drops contains antizin and food and water and stuff, right? So whenever they make a supply drop, Rise and Brecken go to that supply drop and they essentially fight to the death to get their hands on the contents of that supply drop. So, and like I said earlier, because Rise has an army underneath him, he can't just walk up to the bad guy and say, "Going to use that document." But as we progress through the game, Crane started to feel sorry for the survivors, and he felt this obligation to help the survivors. And then he started to realise that the people he's working for, the GRE, were actually corrupt, and that they did not give a fuck about the survivors inside the city. All they wanted was that document, and Crane was to get it by any means necessary. And then eventually, at some point in the game, Rise tells Crane what's inside the document, that they wanted to weaponize the virus, and Crane was like, "Oh my fucking god, I am being used. I am a pawn in a game. I just flat out refuse." So he ends up going rogue, right? And the ending to the game, Crane fights Rise to the death. Crane comes out on top. During our adventure, we meet this doctor. His name is Dr. Camden, right? And he has been working on a cure. So at the end of the game, once we defeated Rise, Crane had something on him that he was to take to Dr. Camden, the final piece of the puzzle, and Dr. Camden would be able to take that and create a cure. So you would think that that would set us up nicely for Dying Light 2, but I just recently started playing Dying Light 2, and yeah, the ending to Dying Light 1 didn't really tie into Dying Light 2 at all. But that's for another review. But yeah, so that was it. I thought the story was pretty damn good. And like I said earlier, guys, the characters were also great. Techland have improved in that department drastically. I really did not like the characters in Dead Island 1, guys. Especially Cinemoy. Cinemoy was this lifeguard, and he was stationed at this lifeguard tower. Granted, he did save our life, so essentially we owe him one. But in Cinemoy's mind, we owe him everything. And he sent us on death run after death run after death run. We risked our lives so many times for him. And then he gets on the radio and gives, "Look, listen, mate, I know you've got your own thing going. I know you've got your own mission. And I know that you've done so much for us already, but you're going to have to try harder, mate. There are people here dying. There are people here struggling, suffering, and they really need help. You're going to have to do harder, mate. You got to speed things up." And he's literally sitting there in the lifeguard tower doing absolutely fucking nothing while we risk our neck. And for what? What thanks did we get? We get made to feel guilty. And at that point, I grew to hate the character. And every time he came on the radio, his voice just, "Oh, shut up!" But just like the characters in Dead Island 1, you know, like, the dialogue was cheesy. You know, the character animations were weird. The character models looked odd. I didn't like the characters. I'm happy to say though that they have improved big time when it comes to the characters. I liked Kyle Crane as the protagonist. You know, he was very strict, very regimented. You know, he was there to do a mission, and nothing was going to get in the way of that mission. But then you started to see his human side when he saw how much the survivors were struggling and stuff. And when he realised that he was being used, right? That the GRE were actually corrupt, that they were planning to weaponize the virus. He was like, what the fuck? So, man, he was just like, he was a very conflicted character, but I grew to like him, you know, and the voice actor was incredible. He did an amazing job voicing him. I really thought the bad guy, Rise, was great. We even learned a little bit about his backstory. He had this brother, and his brother was the only person who was able to control him, right? But something happened to his brother, and I think he ended up in a wheelchair. And Rise asked the GRE to airlift him out the city. Something happened. I think they just flat out refused to do it, and as a result of that, his brother died. And Rise, blamed GRE for his death. And without his brother to keep him in check, he became the dictator that we eventually had to take down. But even all the other characters, you know, like Brecken, he was a good... We didn't see much of him. Like, he was in the game and then suddenly disappeared. He just vanished. And that's fine, you know, whatever. Jade, she was a really good character. Jade's brother, Raheem was the person that actually taught us parkour, and I mean, Jade was the person who rescued us when we landed in the city and we were attacked by the zombies and attacked by Rise's thugs. Jade and a couple other people came to our rescue, and it was during that rescue that Jade's boyfriend was killed. And then later, so she she didn't really blame us for her boyfriend's death, but we were partly responsible for it. And then later in the game, we end up getting our brother killed, Raheem. And then in the end, Jade dies as well. And honestly, Jade's is probably one of my favourite characters in the game, actually. I cried like a baby when she died. And even when her brother Raheem died, I cried as well. I was so heartbroken, guys. So if a game can get me to shed tears for their characters, that means the character design is good. So yeah, kudos to Techland. But definitely the best thing in the game was the parkour. Like, the game's been out there for 10 years, and when I think of Dying Light, I always think of the parkour. And when I played it and I started doing parkour, I like the fact that we can pretty much climb any building that you want. It's a bit like Assassin's Creed, you know. That's essentially what it is. It kind of, when we got our hands on the grappling hook, it kind of felt like we were playing Assassin's Creed. It was awesome. But yeah, so that's about it, guys. There were skill trees. You know, you would progress through the game. There was like a parkour skill tree. It was the agility skill tree. So every time you did parkour, you gained XP until you earned a skill point, and you put that skill point into the agility tree, and it would improve things like your stamina and the speed in which you do parkour and all that jazz. And there was a power skill tree. So every time you killed zombies, you got XP and you earned a skill point, and that would make you stronger when fighting zombies. So there's like four different skill trees. So the more XP you earned, the stronger you became, and that's the way games should be. At the start, you're meant to be underpowered, you're meant to be weak, but as you progress through the game, you get stronger to the point where you're OP. So yeah. So now we're going to give it a score. Like I said, it's been a love-hate relationship since we started playing the game, but because of the vast amount of runners in the game and how they made my life miserable, right? And because of the bugs and the glitches that I encountered that made my character die multiple times, I am going to give the game an 8.5 out of 10. Which is pretty good, guys, because on my channel, any game that gets an 8 or above is good in my mind, right? There's only been one game that got under 8, which was Dead Island 2. So yeah, 8.5 is a good score, guys. I think that's a fair score. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this review, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you want to ask me anything, leave a comment below. What did you think of the game? What would you give it out of 10? Yeah, what was your favourite character? What was your favourite moment? Just have a wee chat with me in the comments and let me know what you thought of the game on the whole, right? And if you would like to see more videos of this, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the first episode of the expansion the following. Bye! I take this shit! See, I'm doing the people in the countryside a favour. I'm thinning out the herd. No! He's got Dr. Zoidberg on his shoulder. Oh my god, guys. You know what? It's fine. I'll fucking go. I'll take his on. Here. Name a mail for you. Oh god.